I have seen hurricanes and tornadoes and mass natural disasters. I have seen famine. I have seen the effects of terrorist attacks. I have seen economic depression. There's been just a lot of bad stuff going around. But none of that has affected me personally to such a huge extent. I had lots of family turmoil, just a lot of drama and a lot of unwanted stuff going on in my personal family life. But that has not affected me in such a dramatic way either. The situation that I think in my life has been one of the most things that have changed me as a person was a time when I was in kindergarten and I just did something so horrible, unforgivable, awful. I mean, I wince thinking about it right now. I could bring myself to tears at almost any moment thinking about. And I was at a carnival on a ride and I kicked my shoes off. And it was terrible. And that doesn't sound like the worst thing ever. It doesn't even sound like that big of a deal. Some people think that it's funny, but it's not. It's very serious. And it is why I now cannot lie. I'll give you a little bit of background. When I was in kindergarten, I lived in New York. I went to Byram Hills was the school name. And every year they threw a nice big carnival for, whatever, the kids at the school and the people of the town. And it was a fundraiser. It was fun for everyone, whatever. It was almost sort of like a rite of passage for the kindergartners, though, all us 5-year-olds. We thought it was really cool. We were going to be big kids now. We got to go on the big rides. And there was a lot of anticipation and excitement put into this carnival. I mean, every day on the bus to school, we'd be looking, oh, look, they set up a new ride. Oh, look at that, look at that. And there's just a lot of pressure put on how fun that was going to be. I mean, I was pumped up. I knew it was going to be the best night of my life. And I believe it was a Friday night was when I was finally, when it was open and we were allowed to go. And my sister and I were going to go with our neighbors, Mo and Kelsey. And we were super just jazzed up about it. And the day after a long day of anticipation, after dinner, our mom was like, okay, guys, it's ready to go. And I was so pumped. I was I got my favorite blue Skechers on. They had little yellow zippers on the front. I thought they were the coolest things ever. And I had my little panda purse. And I was ready to go. I was ready to be there and be super cool and be old and awesome. And it was great. We were there with our two neighbors and we were having an awesome time. We were going on ride after ride after ride. I had played a couple of those, fun carnival games where you throw the darts at the balloon board, and I won this little snow leopard stuffed animal, and I thought she was so cute. I promptly decided that snow leopards were my new favorite animal, and I was just so jazzed. It was so fun. And then, of course, time comes. Parents are oh, you have to go home, and of course we're begging them, no, let us go on one more ride, just one more. So they said, fine, okay, just one. And we waited for 3 turns on the swings ride. We were so excited. It was going to be our last hurrah. It was going to be so fun. And I had my little stuffed animal, and I just thought it was so cool. And I go to get on the ride with my sister and my 2 friends, and the man manning the ride told me that I couldn't carry my stuffed animal, even though the other rides let me. So I had to go give it to my mom. And when I came back, there were no seats near any of my friends. I literally had to sit on the exact opposite side of the ride. I couldn't even see them. And I was a little bit nervous. I was a little bit freaked out. I mean, I was probably kind of tired and whatever, but I was oh my gosh. It kind of ruined it for me, so I was a little bit upset anyway. The guy coming around, who was clearly in a bad attitude, he smelled like smoke. He was really gross. I did not like him. He's coming around, though, to check that everyone's strapped in. And the girl in front of me, she's a 4th grader. She's so cool. I think she's so pretty and whatever. She asks him if she can take her shoes off because she had flip-flops on and they were falling off. And he said, gave her attitude. He was no, you can't. It's stupid. They won't fall off. And I was oh my gosh, they totally are going to. And my shoes had been falling off that night. I had slip-ons. I thought they were so fun. But they definitely had been, a little not so tight on my feet. So then he got to me next, and I felt bad for that girl. I thought she was so cool. And I asked him if I could take my shoes off. And he's even more annoyed now. He's no, you can. And I was just super upset about that. I was not happy. I was not fun. I was scared anyway. I just didn't want to even be there anymore. So I'm sitting there like near tears, just like I'm 5 years old and I'm tired and I just want to go home and this is no fun. And the girl in front of me who says to her friend who's sitting in front of her, I'm just going to take my shoes off anyway because they're going to fall off. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's the most crazy thing I've ever heard. No way. She's so cool. She's so awesome. I want to do that too, but the ride was just starting, and so I was like, oh, I can't now and whatever. So I'm sitting there by myself. I'm just kind of praying for it to end soon because I can't see my friends, whatever. It was just kind of a bust for me, and for some reason, I don't know what happened. About halfway through the ride, something possessed me that was like, you should kick off your shoes. And I don't know. I just had to do it. And it wasn't thought out. I just kicked them off. I didn't even think about it. I don't know. They were just, it was a bad decision, but I did it and I kicked my shoes off. And 30 seconds later, when the second half of the ride was done, I get off. I was still kind of sad and upset and whatever, and I go to get my shoes they landed right near me, or where I had gotten off. I just got them, put them on my feet, walked out the gate, and as I'm walking out, the man sees that my mom is standing right there, and he goes, your daughter kicked her shoes off on the ride. And I was so scared. I didn't know that it was a bad thing to do. I was so frightened that I said that. I was like, no, I didn't. And the man was like, well, it's impossible for them to fall off. And I was just so freaked out. My mom was like, oh, whatever. She didn't care at all, which made me even more upset. She believed me. And it was horrible. I felt so ashamed. Like, I not only had I lied, or not only had I kicked my shoes off, that was bad enough. I didn't know it was wrong, so that was a bad thing to do. Then I lied about it, and then I got away with lying. I was drowning in my guilt. It was horrible. It was a horrible experience. And it stuck with me for months afterwards, like more than a year. It ate away at me. I did not, if I couldn't fall asleep at night, I would think about that. And I was oftentimes crying to myself because I couldn't believe that I had lied and I had gotten away with it, and it was just horrible. Like, that shouldn't happen. I should be in trouble, but I'm not, and I'm afraid of being in trouble. So it was all bad. And then finally one time, I think it was a couple years later, I was supposed to be asleep like 2 hours ago, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I heard my mom walking up the stairs to go to sleep, and I just had to say something. So I went up to her, or I crawled out of bed. I was scared that she was yelling at me, that she was going to yell at me for being awake. I was super frightened, but I was just like, Mommy, I just want you to know that I lied to you and I did kick off my shoes on that ride that one time. And it was such a surreal moment for me. She was not upset. She was not mad. She was like, oh, that's okay. And it was such a relief, such a freeing experience. It felt like 1,000,000 trillion weights had been lifted off my shoulders, and I could finally breathe again. And she was like, lying's not good, but it was, that was okay. It was fine. I didn't care. That guy was mean anyway. It was just, what a big sigh of relief for me. And now, to this day, I have a very difficult time lying. I just have a lot of guilt. If I'm even going to embellish something, or, even if I'm giving, like saying this story, I'm so worried that a detail's wrong. Like, maybe it wasn't a Friday night, maybe it was Saturday, maybe it was in the middle of the week. I don't even remember, but I just have a very hard time telling blatant lies. And I can make up something if it's for like a story or whatever, but I cannot just say something completely untrue. And if I do, I freak out and I have to tell someone. It really showed me that humans are so built, so structured to discipline themselves. We want to do what's right. We're not meant to be bad people. So I think that it is very important to always tell the truth, but even more important, to always be secure with yourself. If you do something and you're not okay with it, change it. Try to make it better, because anything else will never be worse. The punishment that you can give to yourself.